a a broadcast on the internet, and you can always plug into our broadcast, and they're also available later, this message, at www.lifeskilltv.com. That's www.lifeskill, LIFESKILL, thomasvictory.com. And we broadcast simultaneously as we do the call. So if there are any of those who are watching us on the computer, you may please log in at the bottom of the screen where you see the picture. If you be sure to click on live broadcast, and at the bottom just type in your name. And if you have any questions or whatnot, you can type them in and press send. It should say public, and that way I can see that you're here. And when we do our trainings in the future, this will be the way that we take attendance. All right. Today, much of our training in this entire series is based on many books, many teachers that I've interacted with over the years. And one of the books that is always a staple of our trainings is, of course, our book, The 12 Universal Laws of Success. And, it's available at www.12uls.com. That's www.12uls.com. It's also one of the books in at our company, at the Sound Concepts. It's available through the company now. All right. The topic for today is your time to fly. And, that topic came to me because I was watching one of those nature programs, and it was talking about, how the birds, the mama bird feeds the baby birds and in the nest, and especially eagles. I was very, just interested in. And, eagles are born to fly. Birds are born to fly. We are born to fly. In the beginning, I think, not only in life, when we're babies, we have to be totally cared for by our parents or someone, older than we are. And in our industry, in our business, in success, we are, as babies, we're helpless. So when we start a business, we're often like babies. We're helpless. We're sitting there in the nest, and the nest may be our training classes. The nest may be opening your copy of the proven plan. But in any event, in the beginning, we are fed and supported by Mama Bird. And Mama Bird may be your sponsor. Mama Bird may be your enroller. Mama Bird may be your teacher, maybe your upline. In other words, whether you're in a business, a network marketing business, a traditional business, or in life, there's always a mama bird, a person, a sponsor who feeds and sustains you in the early days to prepare you for, to prepare you for success. Now, as you're in the nest, as you're fed, you grow stronger, you grow wiser, and hopefully you become aware of where you are, aware of your surroundings, aware of the mother bird as she flies back and forth to the nest. But as I was watching that nature program, there comes a time, after a while, there comes a time when the mama bird knows. And the mama bird knows when it is that that bird, those baby birds have got to leave that nest. Now, it's very interesting. As I was watching that picture, that video, the mama bird knows when she's done all she can to help the baby birds fly. Your sponsor, your mentor, knows when they've done all that they can to help you fly, to help you become successful. And by the way, time to fly means time to get off the ground and fly to the sky and fly to your why, fly to your dreams. But some birds, you know, while they're being fed, they begin to look around and they watch how the mama bird flies back and forth, and they start to start to dream, and they start to wonder if they can fly. You know? And they start looking around the nest, and they start stretching their wings and start kind of flapping a little bit to see, man, maybe I can fly just like my mama. Maybe I can sponsor just like my sponsor. Maybe I can enroll and train just like my sponsor. Maybe I can build my business just like my teacher. Maybe I can live my life just like my mom or dad did. And they start to dream, and they start to flap their wings, and they start to look off that beyond that nest to the real world. But then some birds just stay in that nest and just eat and sleep. We've seen it with our young people. In the bird world, there's no such thing as the empty nesters. Once a bird leaves that nest, they don't come back. As a fact, the mother either destroys it or the nest is abandoned. There's no nest to come back to. When we raise our children, I think we need to raise them to be able to leave the nest that we've created for them to learn and to understand life. And when we let them come back to the nest, that's kind of you might say, a violation of the natural order of growth of living beings. I won't go a lot into that, but I think all of us as parents kind of know what I mean. When we have taught the children and given them all that they need to go out into the world and be successful, and when they have to come back, sometimes circumstances dictate it. But sometimes the kids come back just because they refuse to fly. So that's how it is, really. That's how it is in our business. Right? We've been in the nest. Our sponsors have been feeding us with information and technique on how to be successful in our business. And yet, we may not fly. And yet, many of us never get out of the nest of false security, indecision, and doubt. Well, my friends, my associates, everybody on the line, it's time to fly. In fact, you must fly. In fact, you have to fly. In fact, it is your destiny to fly. Why? Why should we fly? Well, suppose you never did. Suppose you never tried. Suppose you just stay there in that nest. Well, mama birds will kick you out of the nest because mama bird knows it's time for you to fly. As a distributor, as a trainer, as a mentor, when you have taught a person all that they need to know and they still do not fly out of that nest, you have to kick them out of that nest. And fellas, ladies and gentlemen, when your sponsor kicks you out of that nest and they're convinced that they've taught you everything you need to know, then it's your time to fly. When your sponsor pushes you out of that nest, when I was a young man, when you were 18 as a man, you left the house. In the country where we grew up, you often your dad or your granddad gave you a piece of land down the road or next to you, and it was your role once you became a man to go out and build your own house. You couldn't stay in your father's house. And that is the way it is in our business. When your sponsor kicks you out of the net, and they must, as a sponsor, one of the mistakes that we make is feeding these birds too long. Is just coddling them until they become secure in insecurity and lack of action. So when you get kicked out of that nest, you either fly or die. Now, for a bird, that's very dramatic, because if that bird doesn't fly and that baby bird hits the ground, believe me, there are predators there ready to devour him. Well, look at our lives. If your sponsor has worked with you and kicks you out of the nest and says, look, you got to go for it yourself. I'm not doing any more meetings for you. You have got to do this yourself. I've been carrying your ball for too long. You will fly or die. Now, it's not as dramatic with that baby bird because when we die, it means we generally get consumed by failure, consumed by indecision and self-doubt, and just take a negative attitude that this business does not work. And when it was not the business at all, it was just that we refused to fly. So, those of us in business for ourselves, if the person, your sponsor, your mentor, your trainer has given you everything, and if you haven't gotten it, you're going to fall to the ground or die the slow death of mediocrity or a dreamless life. Or, once you've been pushed out of that nest, you may be fearful, you may be afraid, but you start flapping. You start flapping. You feel that eagle nature, that flying nature. And believe me, every one of us is an eagle inside. And so when we get pushed out of that nest, we start to flap. We may be uncomfortable, but we begin to flap our wings of knowledge, our wings of education, our wings of information, our wings of technique. And we begin to flap those wings, and we begin to fly. We've learned enough from Mama Bird. We've learned enough from our sponsors. We have paid attention so that we can now fly on our own. Folks, if we don't fly, if we just sit there in that nest, waiting for Mama Bird, waiting for your sponsor, waiting for your upline, waiting for your coach, waiting for your mentor, waiting for your boss, waiting for your husband, waiting for your wife, to continue to return and provide that which you need to survive, when they never do, you will starve to death. My son used to have a phrase, says, when you take in action, it's like you're stuck on stupid and sitting on dumb. Interesting phrase. But if you don't get out of that nest, if you're waiting for that sponsor, your mama, whoever it is, to come back, and they don't come back, then your dream dies. You may physically be there, but you'll be a shadow of that which you are supposed to be, and a mere shadow of your potential, and your dream will die as a raisin in the sun. Now, what does it take to fly? Well, one, it takes a why to fly. You know, it said, where there's no vision, the people perish. Write the vision and make it plain that he may run that readeth it. Though it may tarry, wait for it, it will surely come to pass. So if you have no why, if you have no dream, if you have no vision, if you have nothing that you want to do, be, or have, then you will not fly. So it takes a why to fly. Number two, it takes a decision to fly. You know, when you're a bird sitting there in that nest of complacency, being fed by your sponsor, Mama Bird, if you don't make a decision to fly on your own, when Mama Bird stops coming, you will perish. So it takes a decision that I want to fly. I deserve to fly. And flying is achieving and realizing all the things that you desire, your dreams, your vision, and your purpose. So you must have a why to fly. You must make a decision to fly. And third, you must take action to fly. You know, many of us make decisions to go for it, but then never pick up the phone to make a phone call. Make a decision to go for it and only make excuses. You know, you can either make excuses or have success, but you can't do both. So you must take action. If you're ever going to fly, you have to jump out. You have to say, go over that cliff of opportunity and flap your wings and fly to your dreams. The fourth thing that it takes to fly is it takes determination. You know, when you look at flying, you know, success must be your only choice. You know, think about this. When you're in a plane, and then there is no choice other than to fly successfully, crashing and burning should not be an option. Success must be your only choice in spite of the bumps, in spite of the setbacks, in spite of the failures. You must be determined. As it says, seek and you shall find. Knock and it shall be opened. Ask and it shall be answered. But it doesn't say how long. You must do it until you get it. You must be totally determined. You must be willing to do whatever it takes for as long as it takes until you realize your vision. And so when you know that flying is your only choice, when you know that flying is your destiny, when you know that flying, success, abundance, happiness, and joy is your purpose in life, then you will fly.